for yourself for your own work, right? We have a lot of people that writing big Confluence, sites with all sorts of functional descriptions of systems, and nobody looked at those pages. You see how often they get looked at, right? And so in our huge, massive web presence in Confluence, hundreds, I would say hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of pages I think we're up to. And I bet you, maybe 20% of those get looked at more than once, right? So just because we're paperless doesn't mean that we're documenting things, that we're adding value with our documentation. So what do we say? So we introduced cardboard for storyboarding. I remember one of the big things, we should save all those cardboard boards, what if we get audited? And nobody, that's a tool, right? That might as well be, it's post-it notes on a corkboard. It's really what that's what it should be. So what do we say, and where do we add value? I think that's a struggle that a lot of people have, and this was a huge emotional challenge for people to get rid of their binders and their email archives and their documentation, to really start to learn when is it important to document, when is it not. I wonder if anybody's had experience with that or challenges, and how did you work through them? Good point. Marcy mentioned that what if a decision was made 5 years ago and nobody's going to remember that anymore? That happens. One of the things I would help say to people about that is if the decision was made 5 years ago, how relevant is it still? Now, in the old world where things moved in geologic time, that was always true, but you wanted to know why they made that decision. Nowadays, maybe it's still important. There are still instances where it is important. But oftentimes, a 5-year-old decision may not be as relevant. Excellent. I got rid of mine. I have nothing in mind. I'm going to move along. I've got 10 minutes left. Tech debt. So tech debt is a really interesting one to deal with because this is a management thing, right? I'll never forget, the whole concept of staying on top of it. The we'll fix it later. I used to use the term refactoring. It's sort of an old distributed development term for making non-functional changes to your code, right? And we weren't allowed to say that word when I was a consultant. I had a client who forbade us to use the term refactoring because to them that just meant coders having fun playing in code, right? The point of fact is that the code needs care and feeding nowadays. In the old COBOL and mainframe world, a lot of the languages never changed. A lot of the code base, it worked, and so why should we ever touch it, right? In the new world, if we don't touch our systems, it doesn't matter if it's code or if it's databases, if you don't address technical debt, if you don't keep working on it, the cost of ownership goes up, right? It becomes harder to maintain. Likewise, if you don't ever address these repetitive, bugs that keep coming up, they're going to eat your team's lunch. I had a team where we were spending 70% of our time doing nothing but database edits because the software system had bugs in it and it would tweak the data wrong. And so the client would say, could you fix this? And then we'd have to do a database edit. We were spending 75% of our time doing that. We were so busy doing it that we didn't have time to fix the cause, right? And or we had a software system that hadn't been maintained in 15 years. It was built in Java too, which eventually those things just stop working, right? If you don't ever fix it. The minimum cost to change a line of code to redeploy that system was $100, and it didn't need to be, but we just weren't given permission to address any tech debt. So, we always think we don't have time right now. If we address it now, we won't finish in time on something else. So let's just leave it be. And so one of the things we've had to do is educate our clients to say, look, we're going to spend 20% of every sprint, 25% of every sprint, or in some cases 50% of every sprint. It really depends on how much of this stuff is eating your lunch, on addressing tech debt. Because until we get the tech debt out of the way, we're not going to be very efficient. My last team I had, we put 25% of our time into tech debt every sprint. And our team's velocity doubled by getting rid of all that tech debt, right? We had twice as much time to spend doing meaningful work for our clients. So that was an important concept. But boy, people struggle with letting you do that. If you talk about making non-functional changes sometimes, there's a lot of pushback. So this is an interesting one to talk about. I'm wondering if people have experience with this. How did you get your clients to understand this and to, have you allow you to spend time keeping it going on? Yes?
If someone spends 1 minute a day doing something for an entire year, they consume 4 hours. 10 minutes a day is 40 hours. 40 hours. So taking the time to fix the problem avoids the people having to fix the problem every time.
Yeah, showing them the aggregated statistics. That's a good one. Look at how much time we're spending that we could be doing something with something else. It's amazing. I'll never forget. We were spending probably 100 hours, easily fixing just these bugs. We would have just fixed it the first time. Well, we just kept getting that month after month after month. And I think part of it is that the clients have other priorities and don't communicate effectively. So that's a big challenge, being able to communicate that to clients. But it's a good point.
So, question, right?
Yep.
So what do you recommend? How much tech debt should a team run with, right?
I think it depends on the team. He asked, Matt asked how much should a team run with. It depends on the teams, how much you have, right? So when we were spending 75% of all of our time doing DD edits, we put 50% of our budget in tech debt. Maybe you don't have a lot of tech debt, you can do less. But I think at a minimum, depending on your apps, I don't think it's a formula, basically. I think it has to do with the team. So, good question. Good question. Some teams will need to do all their time on tech debt, potentially. You would need to dig out from under a mountain. Client collaboration. This is an interesting one that I have an interesting story about. Achieving trust and collaboration. There's this cultural belief we have that executives shouldn't have to give requirements more than once. And I think the cultural belief or the underlying feeling about it was that their time was more valuable than ours, and they were scary, right? We didn't like talking to them. The actual point of fact, your time probably isn't more valuable than ours. Our billing rates are probably higher than theirs, and yet we're still afraid to go talk to them. Like we're going to look bad if we didn't remember. So what would happen at my old company is that we get these one-sentence quarterly statements for goals. They're quarterly goals. We get one sentence. They throw that over the fence to our teams, and we look at that and we'd spend hours perseverating over what that statement meant. We'd parse each word out, figure, okay, what do they want here? What do they need here? We come back to them a week later with a paragraph that we kind of come up with what we thought that sentence meant. And then they say, oh yeah, no, not exactly, you got this right, not this. So we take another week and parse that paragraph. And then we throw that back over the fence to them. And this would go on in a cycle for quite a while. And eventually we'd come up with some statement of work. It would take a long time. And I'll never forget, I thought to myself, oh my God, if they were just sitting in the room with us, this would take minutes, not months, But we were afraid to ask them questions and interact with them because I think in many instances they had been unhappy with us. We were unhappy with them. You see that in a lot of companies. How do you get through that? Anybody with experience about that? Work with clients and gotten them to have some trust. I have some ideas, but we're running up on time. All righty. Well, I'll just throw it in there. So for us, embedded appeal, obviously, with the team is a big deal. That helps a lot. Having those regular client stakeholder meetings, starting that ongoing dialogue with the client, right? And educating them that, look, you're paying for the system, right? You're the one who needs to tell us what it's going to do. We need to have the client invest in it directly. We're going to move through the other ones pretty fast. Number 9, self-organizing teams, breaking our rules. Well, that's not my job. concept. I don't do that. Gut reaction is when I try something new, I'll fail or I'll lose my status. This can also be a challenge to people's identities. You know, this isn't what I do anymore. Helping people see that in Agile teams, self-organizing teams, people pull their own work. They decide where they want to go. It's very empowering compared to having a straw boss pushing work out to you. And lastly, servant leadership is going to be a challenge. Particularly for me, the old belief that the boss knows best. I'm supposed to have the answers because I'm a leader. I'm supposed to know best. Big thing here that I find that I had to do is kind of get out of the team's way. I'm not a technical expert anymore, and I came out of technology, so and a lot of us did. And so we were people that used to have the answers. That was our role. It's not my role anymore. So for me, getting out of the team's way and helping bring out latent talent in the team was a big challenge. And learning that I'm there to help the team, to facilitate. I'm no longer, I don't need to be the expert. I don't need to always be right? The team, I need to go to the team first and socialize with these ideas before I want them. So that is some of it. Anybody have any questions or comments before we move to the next break? All right, thanks everybody. Hope you enjoyed the talk.
Hey everyone, we heard your feedback on